First of all, I did just come from Italy. I'm going back to Italy, and I want to thank Matt and Stoli. We've got some folks from Stoli here. They are the Harvey Milk Foundation's partner, this little break between what I'm doing in Italy also gets me a chance. I call myself a single mother of two. I've got 2 cats up in Miami, so I get to see them. You know, this is the 40th anniversary of my uncle's election to public office. So 40 years ago, in 1997, Harvey ran his 3rd campaign and won. 40 years ago, this type of event, as was spoken about earlier, was truly unimaginable, including some of those who are supporting us. This is a protest as well as a celebration. It's very important that we remember that. I just came from 16 events in Italy, and including Prides. And in northern Italy and central Italy, we do not have festive celebrations. So most people are surprised to learn that even in Italy, if you get people just staring back and not doing anything objectionable, that's considered success. The truth of the matter is that 2/3 of the world's population live where it's illegal or societally unacceptable to be LGBT. We have to realize that. This is also a message today that we are sending across the nation to Donald Trump and Trump Incorporated. Some of you may have heard when Donald Trump was saying, "I'm going to protect the LGBT community." Some of you may have heard me on national TV. I'm going to repeat that. I'm sorry, but you cannot say you're protecting the LGBT community when you attack Mexicans because we are Mexican. You cannot say you're protecting the LGBT community when you take away or try to take away women's reproductive rights because we are women. You cannot say that you are protecting LGBT people when you deny refugees access to this country because we are refugees. You cannot say that you are protecting LGBT people when you attack people of a different faith because we are in all faiths. We will not be divided. This was the message that the world got from the Anita Bryants of the world back 40 years ago when she attacked LGBT people, and she had a shopping list. So it's our turn to stand up for other communities that are being attacked today. We cannot take our rights for granted. We can easily go back. 2 years ago, 1/6 of the world's population went backwards when India's Supreme Court gave the final word and recriminalized LGBT people. 1 out of every 6 queer and LGBT people live in India. They are now criminalized. Harvey Milk Foundation has a small team there. 4 of our 5 leaders are in jail simply because of who they love. We cannot allow any community to be marginalized. So let me just tell you a very brief story about why I am involved in global activism and why I want you to be aware of what's happening across the globe. When I was 25, I got involved in the when I was 25, I was involved in the equal rights movement. We never passed the ERA, and we still need to actually today. Women do not have equality. But I got to go to the closing conference on the UN Decade for Women in Nairobi, Kenya. It was my first time, 25 years old, so now you all know how old I am. Old. I got to go to Nairobi, Kenya, and I was in this room with 3,000 people. The room was buzzing. I was a young 25-year-old, and I was really surprised. I mean, Africa, and most people had my color skin. This little Aboriginal leader who's become a friend of mine got up. You could barely see her above the podium, and she said, "If you have come here," the room was just a buzz. She said, "If you have come here because you want to support women, go back home. If you've come here because you want to support indigenous people, pack up, go back home. If you've come here because you want to help women of color, go back home. We have nothing to do together. And you could then hear a pin drop in that room. It got deadly silence. Mouths were hanging open. And she said, let me be perfectly clear. If you've come here because you want to help women, because you want to help people of color, because you want to help indigenous people, go back home. But if you've come here because you understand that your liberation is bound with mine, then let us work together. Very important concept. Our liberation is bound with anyone who's marginalized, anyone who's diminished, anyone who is denied equality because of their sex, because of their faith, because of their cultural heritage, because of their color of their skin. There should be no difference. And it's very important that we realize that when some young kid in Kuwait or in Reykjavik or in Hanoi is denied their authenticity, is told to put on a mask and hide who they are, we are all at risk. It's in our self-interest. Lila went on to describe why that's a more powerful motivator. I'm very proud that we have corporate supporters here today. If you look at the experience in Arizona and in Indiana, it was all of society, led by major corporations, that stood up to a man who's now Vice President of the United States, who stood up to Mike Pence, who said, I see nothing wrong with businesses being able to hang up a sign saying, I refuse to serve LGBT people. He enthusiastically signed that bill, he defended that bill, and it was all society. It was sports teams, it was faith organizations, and it was major corporations like STUART that we have here supporting us today that said, no, if you do this, we're pulling out of the state. This is our resistance. We must stick together. It's extremely important that we do not allow any community to be marginalized. I talked about that shopping list. My uncle talked about that shopping list Anita Bryant had. We may not be on it today, but we could easily be back on it. Very, very important that we stick together. So let me tell you that the power that we individually have, the power as an LGBT community that we have, is simply our visibility. I always say to young people, if the LGBT community turned purple overnight, we wouldn't have a struggle anymore, because we'd be in every faith, we'd be in every economic group, we'd be in every business, we'd be in every community, we'd be visible. But we don't have that. We need everyday heroes. These are young people having kitchen table conversations with their parents. These are young people standing up for someone on a school playground because they look differently, because they believe in a different God, or because they love differently. These are the people that are changing the world. I would love to say that the activists and people like myself who do this work are the ones, but no, it is the everyday people. It is our visibility. I'm going to tell you one story from Lima, Peru, from a year ago. I went down to Peru at the urging of Congressman Carlos Cruz, the first openly gay elected official in the country. And he asked me to come down on the day that they were voting on civil unions. And I came down, and their Congress gave me an award, their highest honor, their Diploma of Humanity, in the morning. And then they voted on civil unions, and they voted 135 to 1 against civil unions. I gave them back the award. And we had, Carlos had planned a march from Congress to Liberty Plazas. For those of you who have been to Lima, that's a long march. But the press was reporting more about my disrespect and why, and kind of saying, of course this was not going to pass because we don't want civil unions for LGBT people. And the press was asking all kinds of people about why they were there. And for some reason, at the beginning of that march, they turned to this young man, Ciro, 17 years old, looks like the average everyday Peruvian. Every Peruvian mother could relate to him. Dark glasses. And they said to Ciro, are you here for or against LGBT people and civil unions? He said, I'm here for. And they said, why? And he said, because it's the right thing to do. And then they said, are you gay? And he paused. And all of the national TV networks were focused on him. And he said, yes. And they said, when did you come out? And he said, just now. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. It was the lead story on that news. It was more than myself or Congressman Carlos Cruz could ever do. It was the lead story on national news. Now, we put Ciro up front, and we marched for 2 hours, and the news crews followed him. They were fascinated by Ciro and this simple taking off his mask. And we got to Liberty Plaza where they had a double-decker bus where we were going to speak. And Ciro, we found out that Ciro's mother, who's very involved with the Catholic Church, has said brutally homophobic things at home, and he was petrified. And as we got to this bus, Ciro broke down and started crying. We thought the toll had taken too much on him. And all the news cameras were still following him. But there was a woman coming at him, also in tears. It was Ciro's mother. Her brother, Ciro's uncle, had called her and said, you know, your son is American, a faggot. Well, apparently she found her way down there, and she was in tears, and he was in tears, and all the TV cameras were on it, and she said to him, everything I told you about being LGBT was a lie. You are absolutely loved by me, and you are loved by God, and you are perfect. And they embraced. And that was the second lead story on the Peruvian national news. Parents want to love their children. We must continue this battle of visibility. This doesn't end. So I'm going to close with a quote from one of our founding fathers. As flawed as they were, not recognizing women, not recognizing people of color, but I will tell you, Thomas Jefferson was asked time and time again, when does the battle for equality and justice end? And he said it doesn't. It requires vigilance. He said as long as we have minorities, we will always be subject to the tyranny of the majority. We must remain vigilant. Please remain vigilant. Please stand up for those that are being attacked. And together, we are manifesting that dream that my uncle had. You know, as a family member I was 17 when my uncle was killed, and I'm always asked if I'm sad that my uncle didn't get to see a day where we are today, and my answer is always the same. He saw this. It's what gave him the courage to face those bullets. It's what gave him the courage to face the death threats that he got. He didn't just simply run for office as openly gay. He asked everyone at every opportunity to come out. That was a scary proposition, but he saw this day. He believed in each one of you. He saw you because he dreamed of you, and you are making that dream come true. Thank you so much. Enjoy Pride. Let's stick together.
Thank you. Happy Pride. Thank you so much, Stuart. Make another round of applause. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Paige. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Happy Pride. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
No, you're doing a fantastic job. I love your story. Please keep it up. It's I actually have a Maya Angelou interaction that I had with her in 1979 that fits into that one day. I'll tell you about it. But thank you so much.